Hello everyone, welcome to the Microdesk webinar series. My name is Ravli Rivolapati and I'm the Marketing Manager for the California region. Welcome to today's webinar, AutoCAD for Mac 2012. For those of you who aren't familiar with us, I'm going to give a little background of who Microdesk is. We're an Autodesk Gold, Oracle, and Google partner. We provide technology training and consulting solutions for the AEC industry. We have 12 offices located throughout the East and West Coast with our newest addition in beautiful Chicago, and we have a staff of over 90 consulting and technical specialists. Over the next hour, we'll review the new edition of AutoCAD that takes full advantage of the Mac OS. With intuitive tools and native DWG file format, you can easily transform concepts into reality. We'll preview the range of powerful 3D free-form design and drafting tools with robust collaboration capabilities. Also, you'll get a glimpse of the mobile capabilities provided by AutoCAD WS. And if you're an experienced AutoCAD user, you'll be productive in minutes. Presenting today's session is Microdesk Solution Specialist Micah Peterson. Here at Micah Peterson is an architect and an M&E Solution Specialist here with Microdesk. He provides training, consulting, and technical support for architectural organizations looking to best leverage design technologies including AutoCAD, Revit, Navisworks, and 3ds Max. He has over 7 years of experience working with Autodesk software and its implementation. I'm going to go over some logistics before we begin. In order to minimize any background distractions, you're all on mute for the duration of the session. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them in the question area of the webinar toolbar to the right of your screen. Michael will address as many questions as he can at the end of the presentation. If we run out of time, we'll provide you with our contact information so you can follow up with us. And now, I'll turn it over to Micah.
Hello, and thank you, Ravli. Hello, everyone. My name is Micah Peterson, as you said, and I am going to walk you through some of AutoCAD for Mac. It has finally come, and this is actually the second version. There was a 2011 version, as some of you may be aware, that was quickly followed up by a 2012 version. There's no report yet, as of yet whether the yearly release schedule that has been historically true for the Windows-based packages will actually apply to the AutoCAD-based packages, but I have a feeling it will just because they did try to get it on the current year version. So we'll see. Maybe in the spring you'll get a 2013 version, and it'll be even better, obviously. Okay, today we're going to go over, most users, they understand a lot of AutoCAD commands, and you're fairly used to AutoCAD so far. So I'm going to focus on some of the unique features of AutoCAD for Mac. As you can see on my screen here, it is a completely revamped interface. So if you are familiar with AutoCAD for a Windows platform, it is familiar in a sense that the commands are still available, but it has really been customized for the Mac OS platform. So you have your main drawing area, and you don't have the ribbon, is one thing you may notice. That may be a good thing to many of you if you aren't a fan of the ribbon. You do have your classic drop-down menus up top here. You also have these tool sets and your menu bar up top, and then you have your kind of layer palette and your properties inspector here. Of course, it's an inspector. You do also have a command line still, and then you have your status bar down below. But all of these are pretty detachable, and you can move them around and do various things with them, similar to most of your Mac-based software so far. You can switch your palettes here to several different palettes on the left. So overall, kind of a hybrid between old classic AutoCAD and Mac software. So you also have functionality that includes the trackpad and the Magic Mouse. So those are completely compatible. You can use all your gesture-based devices to interact with this as you see fit. Okay, so we'll start out, and we'll just open up a file here. We'll go to, and scroll down maybe Rue there. And we have this kind of water park here, and it is down in South America, I believe, or maybe Mexico, south of the United States. I forget which place. But we do have some text that's behind all of these bodies of water, but we just can't see them because the hatches are now covering the text, as well as several other pieces of line work. So there's a command now called hatch to front, and you may have been aware of this or may know how to get there in AutoCAD for Windows, but in a Mac environment you're not sure. So it's very easy. Just go to Help and start typing, and you'll see that it very quickly sorts through your commands and then lists them in order here. Now if I hover over one of them, it automatically opens up to where that command is listed in the menu bars. So very nice, pretty obvious. You get this nice little blue arrow there pointing to it. So I can either click on that there, or I can just click or use my arrow keys to type on that, and it will then send hatches to back. And now you can see my text and my line work is now showing in front of all of these bodies of water. So very quickly, and as well as the ability to just find commands in it. I really like the fact that it actually shows you where they are so that in the future you don't have to search for them every time. Now, something else that's kind of going on in this drawing is that we have this text that appears pretty well over the hatch. I like that. But this text down below isn't really showing up, so not really well thought out in terms of visibility. So if I go to my text, maybe I should change the color of my text layer. That might do the trick, except my text layer is yellow. So obviously somebody's been messing with the standards. So what we need to do here is look maybe at this text object and see, yes, blue. Obviously, we don't want hard-coded color for any of our objects here. We want layer-based color. So we want to switch this to by layer, but we know that there are quite a few of these labels around the park, so we don't want to have to go and select all of them. So all I have to do is select one. We'll go up top here, click on Select Similar, and then it selects all of these objects, and you'll notice this says text 8 over here. So it selects it by common properties, the same size, same color, all of those. And then we'll go over here to the color for all of them and choose by layer. Now they all turn yellow and much brighter, much more visible. I like that. So now we can see that all across our park we have many pieces of text that have been changed. So again, select similar. Pretty nice. That's also been added to the Windows-based version. And some of these features are unique to the AutoCAD for Mac version. Some are unique across the board for 2012 software or 2011 and 12. So I'll try to point out the ones that are specifically unique here. One other thing about layers is that you can also add layer groups. So you can adjust and create a layer group right here with a folder, and then name a group here, and then drag layers up into that group. I'll just leave my group 1 there. And you can also create new dynamic layer groups. These are, they look very familiar if you've ever created a dynamic playlist in something like iTunes. It's, again, because it's a Mac interface, it looks very familiar. You have, you can name the group and then have it automatically collect different layers with properties that you define of a certain value. And these are conditional statements, so is, does not contain, does contain, starts with, ends with, etc. And you can compile these together and have a rule that picks several different properties and compiles all those layers into one specific group. And we'll do it dynamically, obviously, based on the name. So it does it on the fly, and as you add more layers, potentially, or bring in more layers from another drawing, it will automatically group them together as you've defined. So very neat. I really like that feature there, and that's new for 2012. Okay, now we are in a Mac operating system, so we can certainly use the features of the operating system to go up to Spotlight here. Click on Spotlight, and we're going to search for our next file here. We'll go to RU there, and it very quickly finds RU A14. Nice. And we just use the down arrow and go to it. So very quick, something that Windows has not quite perfected yet, still a little bit slower. I like the Spotlight. So now we're in this nice section view of these same tanks here, and this is nice. We got the sharks, we got people here, and obviously much smaller than the enormous shark that looks pretty fierce there. So there's some things in AutoCAD, if you're not familiar with them, called blocks, and those are meant to be reusable components that you can place in multiple drawings, and you can adjust one of them in a drawing, and all of them will then change accordingly. And they can attach properties and add dynamic components to those. So very useful tools, and being functionally useful in AutoCAD requires that you kind of master this block creation and management. Well, in this case, inserting reusable shapes is something we definitely want to take advantage of. So we'll go to Tools, Palettes, and there's a Content palette. And this opens up a palette with all of the existing content that's in our drawing. So all of these right there, and we can scroll down and see here's all of our sharks and all the different shapes that are actually included. And we'll notice that there's a railing here that's missing. Well, I'll just go there and double click on this railing. And now I'll scroll down and it does, the insertion point is right there on the corner. So I'll just click right about there and it inserted nicely. Now we have a railing and no people should then be falling into this shark tank, which would be tragic. So now that's not going to happen, hopefully, unless they're good climbers. So very easy to insert content, transfer content around, and the palette's a nice visible representation of that content. Okay, so we're going to go back and open up another file here. I will open up one, and let's see, I think stage layout we'll do next here. So AutoCAD, the whole design of AutoCAD and workflow is one where you can take the different components of your model and split them apart and design different aspects of your model with different parties. So you may have your architect, you may have your structural engineer, you may have your mechanical designer, your plumbing designer, your fire protection, you may have electrical, and all of these can be designed in separate AutoCAD drawings and then combined with using what's what we call external references or XREFs to bring them all together. And then when updates happen to any of those different files, they all update in whatever file they've been linked into. So in this case, we'll do the same. We have a stage layout, and this is for different shows at this same water park. And we have a lighting designer who has designed their lighting design separately in a separate document so they can work on it concurrently, and we're going to link this in. So just like AutoCAD in a Windows environment, you have the command line. So we go XRF here, and if I just type in XR, you'll notice that the autocomplete functionality has been added for 2012, and this is both versions. And you can go down with your arrow key. You can also click on a specific key here and choose XREF. So command line, it's kind of that dynamic input, but the autocomplete is really nice. We'll click on XREF to get our reference manager, and then we'll choose attach reference here. I'll click attach reference and scroll down and we have our stage light layout. Open that up. It gives us some options here. We'll leave these at the default. We want the default scale, and I'll specify on screen and click OK. Now we have this attached to our cursor here, and we already have some insertion points right here. So I'll go to this insertion point crosshair and click. And then it's been placed on our design. Now we have our plan below, and our lighting design comes in attached to our light rails up top here. We have the lighting there, and then we also have this legend that's been created kind of here to show what these are and with some annotations. Now one other thing that's kind of been added with 2012 is this, if you select an XREF, you get these visors, and these were there for blocks and text, I believe, in a previous version. Now they've added this for external references as well as layouts, as you'll see. So if we select this external reference, we get options for external references, what to do with them, editing them, etc. So we can close this reference manager, and it is a contextual menu. So if we hit escape to get rid of our selection, the visor goes away. So if I go down here and choose my, let's go stage light plot here, it will switch to my layout view, and then you'll notice that we have a layout visor as well. So there's been several of these added for the 2012 version. Now I want to create my legend, and notice how I have this legend here, and the ability to have one document, to have a model space that's drawn at 1:1 scale, and then have multiple viewports that represent this drawing at various scales as we see fit. That's really the power of AutoCAD. So one little plug, always draw in model space and draw to scale. So in this case, we have our kind of legend here off to the side. We want to show this at an increased scale. So we'll go to New Viewport, draw a box there, and go inside of this view and scroll and pan around until we get a nice size. That looks about right. Maybe a little large, but I think that'll do. So now we have our legend, and we can move this around and do what we want with that, and maybe resize it later if we like. So now we have two layouts, and we can plot this however we like. Okay, now when we are plotting, there's new functionality in 2012 for batch plotting. You can go to File and Batch Plot, batch publish, and we'll ignore a layer, unreconciled new layers. And we have this, and we can add different documents. I'll choose maybe my 3D aquarium. Open that up, ignore new layers, and I think I may get one more. There we go. All right, so we get this with our layout there. We can also add open drawings. So any open drawings we have, it pulls from that list, populates that, and now we can hold down our Option key here to get multiple selected, or a Shift key, and then publish all at once. So very handy and very needed. Also, on a little side note, we can export to PDF as well. So if I go to File and Export, I can go to File Format PDF, as well as several other kind of external file formats as well. Okay, now there's also been some drafting tool enhancements in the new version. So I'll go to New and choose a template here. Scroll down here, and we'll go to stage.dwt, and this has some setup already for scale and size here. So we'll draw, going over to the left, make sure that we're in our drafting tool set, and we'll choose the rectangle tool. And I'll draw a rectangle approximately that big. I'll make adjustments here in a second, but that's a good sized rectangle. Now, we can go to select this rectangle, and you'll see that we have these multifunctional grips. Now, these were new for 2011, and we can hover and choose Convert to Arc, and now we get an arc on this end. And we can do this with any polylines. Well, a lot of this functionality has been added to lines, arc, text, multileaders. Several different objects now have this type of functionality. So if I maybe select the line and go to the endpoint, I can choose to stretch or lengthen. I can choose an arc and do the same thing, stretch or lengthen. Maybe I choose lengthen, and now I can just continue that arc in that direction. So really cool, quick, easy to use tools that add a lot of functionality without having to go and redraft a lot of things. All right, so we have this stage, but we want to add a little bit of design intent to this. And we do that by adding constraints. So if I go over here in our toolbar, we have an auto constrain button. And if we choose auto constrain and drag a box around the whole stage, and I'll right click and enter, now it has added these constraints. We see we have a horizontal constraint here, we have a perpendicular constraint, and two parallel constraints. So now, as we make changes to our model, if we want to make adjustments, all of these will stretch and grow accordingly. One thing that you'll notice, though, is that these two lines we do want to be equal, so we'll just go ahead and manually add one more. The auto constraint doesn't always pick up on every single constraint that you may want. It just does a good job of trying to guess which ones are there. So we'll go to equal over here on the left, and I'll choose this left line there and the right line, and now those two will remain equal. So any changes we make along the way, we can adjust the size and scale here, and the entire stage maintains its aspect ratio and adjusts accordingly. So we have this. We'll add one more constraint, though, because we want a dimensional constraint. Make sure that we choose linear here, and I'm going to add a constraint onto between that corner there and there, and we'll make that be, 50 feet. And then we'll add one more. Press spacebar and then choose the linear option again, and we'll choose that point and this point on the left to add one more dimension constraint. Now in this case, I'm going to add, let's say, 20 feet, but I actually really want this to be half as deep as it is wide. So what I can do is go into this constraint, and instead of typing in a value, I'll type in d1/2. Now this will always be half as big as the 50. So if I go in and change my 50 to, let's say, 60 feet, now this has adjusted to 30 feet accordingly. So these can really help you maintain that, again, that term of design intent, so that as you go further along in your design and slight changes are made, as you bring in more and more data, you can maintain that without having to make these drastic adjustments or redraft a lot. All right, so we have this, and this is nice, but I'm going to use the view cube here and just orbit around like that. Look at kind of a 3/4 view there. And we can actually turn this into a 3D stage. So we'll go back up to our model tool set and use the press pull tool. All I have to do is click inside of this, move my cursor up, and I'll type in a value of 5 feet. Very, if I dare say so, very SketchUp-like. So we'll zoom around here. And if I want to see this, as currently we're looking at a 2D wireframe, we have many other styles that we can show. Something like conceptual. We also have, let's say, shaded. And we can get various other styles, all of which that show a little slightly different aspect of our design. So we can create 3D models very quickly and easily. Okay, now if I go to this model here, I'll go to Finder. We'll open up our Finder. You still get your access to your Finder because it is AutoCAD. So this is especially useful when you're dealing with CAD drawings where you want to see the contents. You still get the preview data that we can scroll through in this view and see, yep, that's it. Here's our stage. We'll open up that drawing, and now we get the next drawing here. So Finder, again, just one of those really cool features of Mac OS. Now we can see that here's the stage, kind of similar to what we drew before, but they've spent a lot more time on this. So, and they're currently in X-ray mode. That's why we're seeing this. We can adjust this and maybe show it in, let's say, sketchy. Sketchy is kind of cool. It gives you kind of that sketchy look that isn't quite finished, good for kind of presentations or initial schematics, and not wanting to show the client that you're so far ahead, as we all oftentimes are, right? So now here's another one here. So it's very easy to create a lot of 3D data. It just requires a little bit more time. The same techniques, however, drawing the shapes, push-pulling, making some adjustments, and it's really the same functionality that you get in basic AutoCAD. You do have access to these new viewport specific or the model specific styles, however, which are all pretty cool. Okay, so those have kind of been the main differentiating features between AutoCAD and AutoCAD for Mac. I'm going to shift now over to AutoCAD WS. Autodesk has really kind of leading the way in a design aspect of the cloud data storage and use, and they have now announced AutoCAD or Autodesk Cloud. And this is a suite of features that allow you to not only store your data up in the cloud, as it were, but also be functional and do some tasks and design up in the cloud. One of their big features here is AutoCAD WS. So if I go down here to AutoCAD WS, it has now recently been enabled for Mac OS, so I can log in using my subscription login. And this is your subscription login or your AutoCAD or your Autodesk login. They're usually the same thing. We'll go to login here. And now this is logging in. It'll show all the different drawings that we currently have online. If we don't have one online, you can choose upload. I've already uploaded a couple of these because I don't really want to upload in the middle of a webinar. So you could upload and choose a drawing from your local drive and just place that up in your uploaded files. We'll go over to RU A2 here. And we'll open this up in AutoCAD WS. Now this is an interface that is accessing the data that is currently online. So all of this is stored up in your cloud storage. Now this is not a complete, fully functioning version of AutoCAD. It doesn't have every possible feature, but it is a great, almost fully functional version that allows you to do a lot of your basic drafting, a lot of your basic markups. You have your layer palette here. So you can adjust layers, you can view, you can mark up, measure, you can print, send data. You can do all kinds of things here inside of a cloud-based design package. And this is also available for Windows-based PCs. You can design online in any browser itself, as well as any iPod, iPad, as well, and iPhone, and sorry, not iPod, the iPhone and the iPad, and Android-based devices. So any of those, you can log in, access the same data because it's all stored online. Now you may be wondering, well, why would I want to design on an iPhone, or why would I want to design on an iPad? That's so not precise. I would give it a shot. I can't show a demo of this here, but there are some great demos online where you can, they've really adjusted the tool set to fit the nature of the device. So that the gesture-based input and the touch-based input, they've really refined that, and it's pretty impressive in the demos that I've tried to do and the specific tasks I've tried to run. It's a great interface, and obviously you're not doing super technical design across the board, and you'd never want to use this on a daily basis. But for viewing, documenting, being out in the field and needing to examine some data, it's excellent. You can also share this data with anyone else. You can share and send an email directly to share certain portions of your design with them, and then they can get access to the same data. So great for collaboration as well. And at any time, if you're accessing this data, you can always go to download and then run it in your native AutoCAD version, or use it if you're implementing or uploading it into, let's say, Revit or some other drawing package. You can always use these files. You just download them from AutoCAD WS and use accordingly. Okay, well, that's about all the features we have today, and I thank you for your attention. I hope that this was informative, and hopefully you see that they really haven't just ported a Windows-based AutoCAD version over to the Mac. They really have designed this from the ground up to be functional inside of Mac OS and to help Macintosh-based designers be very effective. So, Ravali, back to you.
Micah, we have a question here. What video card is recommended for use with the AutoCAD for Mac 2012 version?
I honestly have no idea. What we can do, though, is we'll show contact information at the end, and we'll send you that information. I am not don't work in a Mac enough to be aware of all the different video cards. There is a recommended graphics card list online at Autodesk, and I will get that specific link. And if you want to send us an email and ask that question, we'll definitely send you as much information as we can get. But generally, we try not to recommend specific cards. Functionality and graphical capacity, such as amount of memory, things like that, certainly we can give you a recommendation there. But it's kind of up to a specific firm to test out different cards and see which one works for the types of design they do.
Okay. Well, it doesn't look like there's any other questions. Thank you, Micah. That's a great presentation. Let me give some information where you guys can email us and things like that. So 1 second. Oh, I think another question came in. Can you import AutoCAD files from Windows platform to Mac system?
Yes. Functionally, these DWGs are exactly the same. The only difference is what you're using to edit them. And anything that you save, the file formats are exactly the same. So you can go back and forth and hop around, as well as the edits that I talked about with AutoCAD WS. You can open it in AutoCAD for Windows, save it in AutoCAD WS online, open it in AutoCAD for Mac. You're all connecting to the same file.
Okay. Great questions, everyone. Keep them coming. And if we don't get to your question, oh, somebody said, how about vice versa? But let me just finish, Micah, that if we don't get to your questions, I will give you the information where you can email us with all your questions from today's webinar. So the same person, Micah, asked, how about vice versa?
Yes. Yes. You can create a DWG from any AutoCAD version anywhere and open it and edit it in any AutoCAD version anywhere. They're all the exact same file format. The only difference in functionality is that AutoCAD WS for the iPad, the iPhone, the online version doesn't currently allow for 3D. So you can view models that have 3D in them and edit them, but only edit them in a 2D sense. There aren't any 3D tools. So even then, you could get a 3D drawing like, for example, this drawing here that is actually in 3D, use it in AutoCAD WS, but it's just not going to let you edit any of the 3D aspects of it. But you can save it and then open it up later in maybe a native AutoCAD version that has 3D functionality.
Great. We have a few more questions here. I really enjoy the interactiveness here, so thank you, everyone. It says, can you discuss a user interface, how to make it look like a classic AutoCAD?
The functionality, let's go to here. I'll show you the options if you want to. Let's see if I can grab control back here.
Oh, definitely. Here you go. Take that.
All right, we're back in AutoCAD. Now, it isn't, the key here is that this is not just a workspace. I know a lot of people are familiar with AutoCAD historically, and well, I have my AutoCAD Classic, and then they implemented the ribbonized interface, and they wanted to go back to AutoCAD Classic. That is not the case here. This is not just we added a new workspace. We have gutted the entire package, and we have created custom interface elements specifically for the Mac interface. So you will be very hard-pressed to get back to a classic mode. There isn't a classic mode. You can do what you want to do in this and edit this and adjust, but you're not going to be able to get to your historical classic mode really, because it's just not there. So you can adjust. I would just go into your view tools and adjusting your palettes in your toolbars, turning on and off specific palettes, but you're really not going to get to the only customized user interface box here, which I'm opening up right now, allows you to get to this menu, customizing your commands, adjusting your menus, what are inside of your menus, and then the tool sets, what tool sets are available, and customizing what commands are inside of those. But again, that's in this type of interface, as well as these types of palettes over here to the right. So really the baseline answer is you can't, and the goal was to create a very specific AutoCAD for the Mac interface that the users of the Mac OS would be familiar with.
Okay. The next question says, what about into Revit and MicroStation?
Any AutoCAD file, any DWG file, doesn't care where it was created. If an Autodesk-based DWG file. Now there are other packages that create DWG files, and sometimes you may open them in AutoCAD and they'll say, oh, this wasn't created in a native Autodesk certified version, just beware kind of stuff. But if you create a DWG in anything that says AutoCAD, it works exactly the same as any other DWG you've ever created. So in that case, you can import it into Revit, you can import it into MicroStation, just as if you had created it in native AutoCAD, 2010 or 9 or whatever year version you want.
Great. There's a few more. Now, why is there not a reduced price for an upgrade from 2011 to 2012 without a subscription?
Why is there not a reduced price for an upgrade for 2011 to 2012 without a subscription? I really don't know. I don't deal with anything regarding price, so I can certainly ask about that. The price itself, and that generally is kind of more of an Autodesk issue. They kind of set the price for exactly what these are. So we will certainly ask and find out. I know that usually when you upgrade it, you get kind of a discount, but it may be because of they've just structured it differently with the AutoCAD for Mac. But I'll find out. Send us an email or we'll get your question, and we will get you as much information as we can.
You think they can just ask their rep that they work with as well, just to find out the
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, call your account representative, whoever you're purchasing software from. If it's us, give us a call and then talk to your account representative. They would have that pricing information and be able to give you the current price list for what we get from Autodesk in terms of what they actually sell the software for. I don't deal with price, and I kind of enjoy that.
Great. For the next one, for license, Office has both PCs and Mac, so their Office. Do we need to buy PC and Mac version of AutoCAD separately?
Yes. One version does not install on both. As you can see, it's a completely different package, and they don't include both with one license. So you'll need to decide. There is a conversion cost, and I believe last time I checked with my local account representative, is approximately $400 to convert a license from one to the other for going from AutoCAD 2012 over to AutoCAD for Mac 2012. So you need to be on the current version. It's not just, well, I want to take my 11 and I want to upgrade it to 12 and convert it over to Mac. It's not that. It's if you have a version of 12, you want to convert it over to AutoCAD for Mac or vice versa, you can. It costs approximately $400. But you'll want to confirm that with your account representative to get that current information. And unfortunately, you can't just take one and install it on any machine you like.
Okay. Can TurboSquid be used to sell our models?
Yes, doesn't really have to do with this specific package, but TurboSquid, if you create 3D models, you could certainly look at placing them on TurboSquid. And for those of you who aren't aware, TurboSquid is a kind of 3D model repository that has a warehouse where you can purchase models that others have created for use in your design. Generally more used for video games, animations, things like that. But certainly if you create something that you think is impressive enough to warrant somebody paying you for it, absolutely, give it a shot and then send me my cut.
The next question, AutoCAD users are used to the AutoCAD PC layout. Do we need the layout? We need the layout to be similar on the Mac. And the question right after said toolbars from the same individual. So if you can answer that in the best way possible. I think he's talking about the toolbars on there.
Yeah, I don't really see a question there, but I see what you're saying. I would tend to agree with you, and that's really kind of where it ends. This is the direction they've chosen to go, and I personally, I don't design in a Mac interface myself, so I'm used to that. I'm fully in the ribbonized interface and loving it now. But yeah, it is an interface change, and this, you can certainly give your feedback. I would highly, highly, highly recommend giving your feedback, and I believe, let me see if they have a feedback here. Send feedback, here you go. If you get AutoCAD for Mac and you go to help, send feedback, you will get a website that allows you to give your feedback, and they actually pay attention. I have recently sent an improvement request for specifically Revit for a specific piece of functionality I wanted in Revit, and within about a day or two, I got a personalized reply from somebody at Autodesk saying, hey, we know about this. Have you tried this? This is kind of a good workaround. We're thinking of putting this into our next service pack. And it was actually somebody responding to my issue. And so they're listening. We oftentimes think that Autodesk is this huge company and they don't actually listen and they just, work with the huge big firms. But I was just some random guy sending this in. So if you have an issue with, hey, look, we want toolbars. This interface is not working for us. Yeah, we use Macs, but we need to be able to just transfer over quickly. That's certainly something you can suggest. And if they get enough of that feedback, they may, with the next version, say, okay, we're going to enable a classic mode that includes more of a toolbar-based, more of a Windows traditional-based design package. So absolutely go there. Again, you can go here under Autodesk. If you go to Home and just go to Contact Us here, you can also get to the same link. You don't have to go through the software. But definitely use this. They are listening always, and they will respond.
Great. There's a couple more here. In the layer group setup, is there a feature to customize layer groups to activate or deactivate all layers based on which layer group is active?
Layer group setup. Is there a feature to customize layer groups or activate, deactivate all layers? I think what you're saying is you can, once you create groups, you can apply those to various groups. You can apply it to all layers in that group. I'll just create a group here, and then I can go to this group and right-click, and I can adjust the visibility, freeze, lock functionality of that group as well. So I think that's what you're asking. You can. That's kind of some of the functionality that why this is really useful, not just for organizing, is that you can now take big chunks of your layers and turn them on and off and adjust. There isn't the functionality to just say, oh, well, this is my current layer, or this is my current group, and it turns everything else off just dynamically, but you can make mass changes over whole groups of layers. So that is available.
Great. This is a two-part question. This individual asks, can I download a 3D symbol from a manufacturer in AutoCAD for Mac 2012? They're typically made for Windows-based AutoCAD. And the second part to that is, can I download my license on 2 or 3 of my own computers? I'm a small business and work alone.
Okay. First question, 3D symbols. When you download a file from online that was created for AutoCAD, you then get typically a DWG. That DWG doesn't care how it's used. So from that point forward, it doesn't care when it was created or what it was created with. It is now a DWG, and you can insert that into any version of AutoCAD you like. The caveat, again, is that 3D lack of functionality in the WS version. But if you have AutoCAD for Mac, you can insert any symbol you like, assuming it actually functions properly. But if the designer could have designed it in AutoCAD for Mac or AutoCAD WS or AutoCAD for Windows, it's completely transparent in terms of its ability to affect your design. So the answer is yes, you can. And the licensing, you can, if you have a single license, if you're on subscription, you are eligible for what's called a home use license, which allows you to have one of your other machines at home, maybe a laptop or a home PC, have a license as well. So if you have a standalone license that you've installed on one machine at work, you can have a second machine installed and activate as well. That's for subscription customers. And it is possible to transfer licenses as well. And yeah, that's kind of the line across the board here. And that's really, it's true for any Autodesk software. That's not just for AutoCAD for Mac.
Great, thank you. And the last one, someone just wanted you to put the interface screen back on instead of this 3D drawing. Can you just do that real quick? We'll have him take a look at it, and then we'll close that.
Sure. Whoops. Well, sorry about that. There we go. There's a drawing there. And sorry, because I'm in the Mac, whenever I select the questions interface for GoToMeeting, it turns off everything in the background again. So I apologize if I click over here on your questions and it removes everything else, because that's what it's doing, because it's one of the more annoying things about a Mac, in my opinion. But anyway, some of you may love that. I can't stand it. But all right, I think that's about it.
Yeah, I think that answers everybody's questions here. Thank you so much. They were all wonderful questions. I'm going to give you some more information here. If you have any other questions from today's webinar and we didn't get to you, please email us at webinars@microdesk.com. That's webinars with an S at microdesk.com. And let me give you some more information here. We have free webinars every Friday, so you can sign that. You can see the information on the screen there. You can sign up. You can visit the microdesk.com events, webinars, and you can sign up for webinars for every Friday that we have them, as well as training. You can browse through our course catalog and our upcoming training, and if you have any custom training. And if you'd like to sign up for our newsletter, you can join our mailing list at marketing@microdesk.com. And if you have any other questions, you can contact us at the number below. Thanks again, everyone. This was a very engaging presentation, and thank you so much, Micah, for all that great information. We hope to see you back at the next one. Thanks again. Bye-bye.